You get called in big cases. Yeah. Oh, you did? Yeah, I got out of that jury. No, maybe we would see it in 7 or 8 weeks.
Yeah.
They do their best to make it certain minutes.
Good evening, everyone. June 17, 2024, we select a meeting, and we open the meeting as a tradition, with pledge allegiance.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good to have everyone. We do have really the way that things happening tonight. But first of all, we're gonna start with police department pinning ceremony, and then after the fire department pinning ceremony. And I will give that to our chief, Fitzgerald.
Good evening. Tonight we have a lieutenant's promotion. Lieutenant's the senior leadership rank within the police department. It's the first level below the level of chief. So this is a big one. Second lieutenant in just over a month. Ken Jones was previously a sergeant. He'd been a sergeant with the department since 2014. And he's been with the department full-time since 2001. Started as auxiliary with us in 1995. Ken's a graduate of CCRI with an associate's degree in criminal justice. Went to Blackstone Valley Tech, and his family has lived in Bellingham since the 1970s. Currently, he's also our firearms licensing officer. So most everyone who needs a license in town goes through him. And internally in the department, he's our lead firearms instructor and armor in charge of all our weapons and equipment, related equipment. He's going to be pinned tonight by his son, Austin, and Aiden, and his wife, Allie. And that's.
Congratulations.
You have the oath. While Larry's doing that, I have an exciting present for all these select board members. We have a new patch, little rebranding. We have one for Dennis too. And one for Hillary. Three. Six. These are, well, I don't know, listen, I can't make recommendations about what to do with it. Years ago, somewhere I used to work, we stopped the guy, he had one on his dashboard, and he said he knew Fitzgerald, and I said, that's very interesting. How well do you know? Oh, it's a good friend. Wow. He got a speeding ticket that day. I didn't know him. You'll see those around town over the next few months. It'll be a slow rollout. People get them switched, and the established date was the establishment of the police department, but we kept the original town hall, just like the old patch. The colors are a little more toned down. They don't clash as much with the bright green and the bright gold. So a lot of effort went to that. A lot of people, a lot of guys and girls kind of went back and forth on. I think more effort went into that than probably construction of the building. Color, shapes, it's a very sensitive thing.
Okay. Kenneth Jones, congratulations on attaining this rank of lieutenant. Do you solemnly swear? In your new role as lieutenant, you will continue to perform your duties as a police officer for the town of Bellingham. That you will not betray the integrity or the character of the department or the trust of the residents of Bellingham. That you will treat all individuals with dignity and respect and ensure that your actions are dedicated to ensuring the safety of the Bellingham community and the preservation of human life. That you will always hold yourself and others accountable for their actions, maintain the highest ethical standards, uphold the values of the department and the town of Bellingham. And that your actions will be bound by the charter and bylaws of Bellingham and the constitutions of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the United States of America.
I do.
Like to stay, you're more than welcome to. The next one is gonna be, fire department, Chief Miller.
Presents for us too?
I don't have presents.
No.
Like, give us for money later. So.
Members of the public, select board, fellow brothers and sisters in blue, thank you. First of all, I'd like to also congratulate the two new members to the board, Dawn. Mrs. Almonte, congratulations, welcome, look forward to it.
Thank you.
Again, tonight, this is, very important for us here in the fire service, a tradition of swerving folks in. Really kind of special tonight, because we have Kristen and Jane, who are our first two non-suppression paramedics. Very excited about this. They're our first two. And then we have Corey Rafter as well too. So we're going to start with Kristen tonight. Kristen comes to us from Community Ambulance out of Milford, where she was a field supervisor. Kristen has been a paramedic since 2008, holds an associate's degree in paramedicine from technology from Quinsigamond Community College. Kristen's husband also is a battalion chief in the town of Franklin. Chuck, please stand up. Also, Kristen is being pinned tonight by her father, retired Fire Chief John Kyle of the Marlborough Fire Department. Chief, please step up. Kristen?
Thank you.
Next up is Jane Pierce. Jane comes to us also from Community Ambulance out of Milford and was also a shift supervisor. Jane has been a paramedic since 2006 and also holds an associate's degree in paramedicine from Quinsigamond Community College. I think there's a path here that we're kind of seeing a little trend going on. Another unique factor is Jane's husband, Chris, please, wherever you are. Chris is a firefighter with the town of Auburn as well, too. So I'd like to invite this time Chris and Maggie, who are going to be pinning Jane tonight. Maggie is Chris and Jane's daughter. Next, Corey Rafter. Come on up, Corey. Corey comes to us from Coastal Ambulance Service. Again, we can see a trend here. We're getting people from the private ambulance service, which is excellent. out of Worcester. Corey has a bachelor's degree in arts and marketing from the University of Dartmouth. Corey has a firefighter paramedic assigned to Group 2 under Captain Provost. Corey just graduated recruit about a month and a half ago. About that. Corey is being pinned tonight by his father, Ed Raptor. Ed, please. Again, thank you everybody for attendance tonight. Select board, thank you for the time. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Oh, yes. Sorry. Jane, Kristen, Corey. Did you go see Larry?
Corey Raptor, Jane Peters, and Kristen. We will now take the oath of office for the fire first as minutes. This only is where they will perform the duties as fire. Yes. For the town of Bellingham. We will not perform the duty or the character of the department for the trust of the residents of Bellingham. That you will treat all individuals with dignity and respect to make sure that your actions are dedicated to ensuring the safety of the Bellingham community and the preservation of human life. That you always hold yourselves and others accountable for their actions, maintain the highest ethical standards, uphold the values of the department and the town of Bellingham, and that your actions will be bound by the charter and bylaws of the town of Bellingham and the constitutions of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the United States of America.
I do.
Congratulations. And also, I would like to recognize our state representative, Mike Sorter. He's here to present proclamations for the fire department and police. I'm sorry, police. Sorry.
I already got one. Chief, we're gonna talk about the others. I'm good. Don't get the other one. It's a great pleasure to be here, Ken. It's a great honor because I've got to know you over the years, sitting as a select board member, but also see you develop through the police department, and this is well deserved, long time deserved. I know that. I know this is something that you look forward to, and I'm glad it's an opportunity. You work very hard to get here, and I know the whole entire community appreciates everything you do for yourself on the line, just like everybody else here. You guys always put us before yourselves, so truly appreciate that. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the House of Representatives, be here known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Kenneth Jones in recognition of your promotion to lieutenant for the Bellingham Police Department. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Given this the 7th day of June 2024 at the State House, signed by Ron Mariano, Speaker of the House, offered by Michael J. Sturgis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations. Before we move to the next part of the our meeting, and if you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome to. Or
Or you can file if you'd like to.
we'll give you a moment with that. Thank you. Congratulations again. Okay.
At the end, yeah.
20 minutes? 25? Hopefully. more. 8:30. So, yeah.
I know you,
Game.
I know it's Celtics. I know you don't have to tell.
So,
I figured you guys would be chomping at the mouth.
8:30.
It's not my thing, but it's okay.
That's not your answer. Bellingham residents, at the next part of the meeting, actually, I'm gonna hand over to our clerk, Hillary, Ellie, and then, gonna do our, for the reorganization.
So at this time, Mrs. Shaheen is the vice chair, so he started the meeting, but at this time, when it's the board reorgs, we're gonna ask for nominations for, chairman of the board. Do I?
So I would like to nominate SN Sound as our new chairman.
A second by Mr. Martinez. Do I have any other nominations for our chairman of the board? No, seeing none, hearing none, we're gonna vote, for the nomination for Mr. Shaheen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, so we have a new chairman of the board. Congratulations.
Oh, yes, you're
The
right.
nominations for vice chair.
Yes, and this time I would like to ask for nomination for the vice president. I'm sorry,
Vice President.
No, we
It's
don't.
okay.
We
We
don't
don't want one of
want
those.
and
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Mr. Hennessy as vice chair, Board of Selectmen.
Second.
we got first, we got second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Hillary?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, and we'll go next.
Now it's your meeting.
Okay, it's my meeting.
Yep.
It's, I really appreciate it for the nomination and for the support. And, I believe Mr. Hennessy will say the same thing too. And, I, would like to, say a few things very brief. And, we are all united. We are gonna move the town forward and, whatever it's gonna take, and then we're gonna do it. And, we might have some differences, but we're gonna find a solution to move town forward. And, other than that, let's, go to, our meeting.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I just ask a question?
Absolutely.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Very full support of you, Mr. Hennessy. One of the things that I think is important as a board, is that we refrain from the use of any mobile devices or anything like that while sitting on the board during the meetings. I've seen over the last year or so,
Mhm.
a lot of use of cell phones. We have an iPad for here, but I think for the most part, we owe the respect to our community who voted us in.
Mhm.
To give them the respect back that we refrain from using our iPhones while here, turn them over, gotta have them, turn them over, turn them off. I just ask that the board, take that under, it's, it's your meeting, I'm just making a recommendation.
No, absolutely. I think you kind of highlighted and then,
Well,
and actually.
they
mentioned that in the
actually know
past.
that I yell at them.
So we kind of hide it over And we'll definitely take that into consideration, and then, we'll lose them during the meeting.
I use mine sometimes just because people are telling me what they can and cannot hear.
But that's understandable, I get that,
Okay.
but I'm just thinking, I think we owe the community our respect, that when we're here, we focus on the agenda and the folks that have questions for us and not be on our cell phones.
That's awesome. Definitely we will do that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I think we gotta move to the next part of our meeting, citizens input. And I know no one was scheduled at this part, Hillary.
No, I didn't have any schedules.
And if
posting.
anybody would like to have anything to add quickly in the audience, we definitely would love to hear them, couple minutes. If not, we'll move on to the next part of our agenda. Any questions, concerns at the moment? No? Okay, if that's the case, then we'll move on to the next one, which is the fire department override outcome. Chief Miller?
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
Again, welcome to everybody. Yes, we were very fortunate. I'd like to start off by thanking all the residents who supported us during this endeavor for the override, as it's something that not a want, it's a need for us to keep up with today's increased call volume. And the request for services has risen. We've shown all that data. So we were able to come out on the positive side of the override. We have 6 personnel that were allotted to us. We need to now decide on when we can do a special town meeting to get my budget, the fire department's budget amended, so I can get moving with this project. So I'm here in front of you tonight to ask the board when we can do this and when we can make this happen.
So it does require a special town meeting if we
Yeah.
were to do it prior to, obviously, we have a meeting scheduled in November, and I know the chief's interested in moving quicker than that. There is a 45-day posting requirement, so it's 45 days from the date it's actually posted. We do have to advertise it in local newspapers as well. So it puts us out a little bit, because obviously we have to come up with a warrant, the board can sign that, and obviously we can do that fairly quickly, but I think it puts us out to the second or third. Hillary and I were looking at the calendar today. What did we think was the optimum, the third week in August?
14th or the 21st
Of August.
of
yeah.
August, and I spoke with someone in the school department, and she said the later the better, because any work that they're doing in the schools should be wrapped up by the week right before school starts.
Can we shoot it for maybe August 21st then? I mean, I think that it's at this point, because, yes, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to mention, there is a little caveat to the 45-day requirement. And in the law, it states that in the event of an emergency, I'm not sure what constitutes an emergency, so that's something you would have to refer to town council, that you can do it, and without the 45 days, there's a 14-day requirement.
Yeah, and we've had that come up before, but it has more to do with a financial emergency. If we had an issue that we had to address immediately, as opposed to adding new personnel, so.
Mr. Chairman,
I just
ask?
Yeah.
Chief, is this considered a public emergency?
That was gonna be my question.
For us, it is, staffing is a crisis for us. I'm not crying foul, I'm not crying wolf.
No, I know, I get it, I'm
But
not saying
again,
for you.
our call volume is increasing. We don't have callback anymore. We're relying still a lot on mutual aid. We need to get the additional staff in. Now, with that being said, this is all going to take time as well. We're planning on starting interviews next week. So that takes time. There's 2 rounds of interviews. Then when they're done that, we have to send them for physicals. Once physicals are done, we, make sure everything is good there. Then we can set hiring dates, but we can't set hiring dates until we get the money transferred and we do the special town meeting. So
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
it's okay.
this is a public safety emergency.
Yes.
I think it gives us time with the fact that the chief does have to hire these people, put them through a process.
Right, but the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Yes.
If that, I'm sorry, if it's a public emergency, it's the safety concerns for the department as well as our citizens. So that falls under
We can certainly follow up to see what constitutes an emergency. I know in the past it's been more a matter of something that had to be addressed, immediately. We can certainly suggest that this is the case, but the whole idea is to give the public notice
Yeah.
that we're having a meeting so that people have an opportunity to attend if they choose to attend, and not do things in a way that may be,
Maybe we could move it up to the beginning of August versus the
Yeah.
end of August.
I mean, our last special town meeting, I mean, we had a record turnout.
Yeah.
So,
So,
obviously it had the 45-day notice. It's,
right, yeah. But this was very, very hot topic debate in public safety and supporting our fire.
But that 45 days puts us, we are in mid-June now,
it would be August 21st.
August 21st, so can we lock the date and then we'll look into it, and if we have to.
If we think of-
Chair, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question? for you? So the school department has asked us, like, the later the better, for whatever the purpose, the 21st, to give a good date. It is a public emergency. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you need to start interviewing. That process typically takes 30 to 45 days, right?
The interview process, no, Don, we're basically, next week, we're starting interviews.
Yeah, next week. And then how long would it take for you to have viable candidates? Because you can't have the money, you can't make an offer,
Correct.
correct,
Money,
until the money's allocated.
And the candidates will, so we're gonna interview 8 for 6 positions. We'll let down to the 6 that we wanna hire, go through the background checks. Once that is completed, and the candidates will be told that we can't do anything until the money's been allocated, so,
Correct.
for us to give them a hard, fast start date. obviously we
But,
can't do
but
that.
backing into it, I'm just trying, here it is, middle of June, we're gonna be coming up upon the July 4th week.
Yep.
Likely not a lot of activity gonna be going on that week, so I'm not really sure if moving it up is gonna help you or leaving it to 21st. So it doesn't matter, but if you feel the 7th is a better date for you, we just have to work with the school department to make sure they can make that space available.
I
for
think
us.
it's a double-edged sword, Don. I think what's gonna make it better is us being able to provide a candidate a date to start.
Yeah.
And not leaving someone out in the wings, like, we're not sure when you're going to start.
That's
And
exactly.
I'm gonna be honest with you, if I was in that position, I wouldn't wanna be in the wings going, okay, when am I gonna start? Because something better may come down the road,
Yeah.
and we potentially could be losing good personnel.
I'm with you. I'm just trying to back
Yeah,
in.
no, no.
What about it?
I can say that you are interviewing people that probably have already been backgrounded as well, so it's probably not.
That is correct. Yes, all 8 candidates have been backgrounded. I will say that.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
might, I would
Please.
say, Den, if you could.
Yep.
Check into that
see
emergency
if we can do it on the 7th.
Yeah.
and see if we can do it around the
Yeah,
7th.
we'll see if we can.
And if
push it
we
up to
can,
that.
we will. If not, we'll have to go
That's okay, that's
Yeah.
good.
so that we could go to the 14th versus the 21st.
So we can certainly see if we can, we'll get
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if the 7 doesn't work, like you said, we can't even push it to 14 or 21st.
Right.
21st, because the school asks 21st, and then we can still shoot for that.
That's what I
It,
would.
it doesn't matter whether I'm there or not, but I am on vacation the 7th, but it doesn't matter. You know, whether I'm there, really,
Okay.
you'll have enough board
Um,
members.
Yeah.
Hold on, I don't think the CFO, she's not available the 7th either. I don't know if
we
that
can still go
matters.
forward with it.
Okay,
Okay, then. So-
and this is if we do the emergency one, because I just counted and
Yeah, we'll have to determine what constitutes an emergency. Obviously, it's a mass general law that dictates what we have to do for posting. So
we have to put it in the paper and,
we do have to advertise it.
and the earliest I probably can get it in the paper would be Monday.
I think we have to do it. Do we have to run it twice?
I don't think so. And if I get it in the paper Monday, it's 45 days is the 7th, so
It's gonna be.
It's gonna be tight.
Yeah.
How about if we shoot for, like, as I said, give us 2 more weeks,
The 14th, you're saying?
to 14 or 21st. And then because if school is gonna need time, 1 more week. And I think the 21st will be the best bet. I know it's 2 more weeks.
I disagree, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I think we should shoot for the 7th if we can do it according to the law,
Yeah.
and the law will allow us to do it. I say,
Okay.
shoot for the 7th
Okay,
and get it done. And
Yeah.
I mean, we've been holding on to this. and
no, you're
just
right,
get it
actually,
done.
it makes sense.
We'll do it as quickly as we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly, as the law
Yeah.
allows.
Quickly as the law allows.
Exactly.
So, we, take a motion, to move forward with the 7th, or?
I'm gonna make a motion
Yeah.
that we look into the emergency special town meeting for August 7th. With the proviso that if it cannot be done, we pick up the August 14th. I am so sorry.
And you were the one that yelled
I
at.
thought I took it off. I did.
Yeah. I second the motion.
Okay.
Okay,
When I asked the kids, you know, usually, you know.
I had to see that little red thing and I didn't see it. Sorry.
It's all good.
So, we have a motion.
You have first and a second.
We got first and second, all in favor?
The seventh, correct?
The seventh.
With the-
Aye. Aye.
Yeah.
Yep.
All, aye,
You did right.
perfect. I will,
Okay, we'll let you know as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
okay. And, so the next one on the agenda is.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
And, I want to step back for 1 second, Nate, I showed on that earlier, and I want everyone to know I'm kind of overwhelmed with the joy to serve the Bellingham. And I would like to congratulate, Mr. Martinez, Mr. Altamonte, Mr. Lavashi, and election, and, I should have done that earlier, my apologies. And,
It's okay.
really appreciate it for the last support, and, so that being said,
You're eating into your own Celtics time here. man.
yeah, I know, it's, let's move on to the next one over here. And, so we have Uno Restaurant Incorporated, change of manager, change of officers. Yes. How are you, how you doing?
Very good idea.
Good.
My name is Christopher Bailey. I'm the new manager. The Bellingham owners.
Pleasure to have you. I think we have seen you before.
What is it?
I think we have seen you.
Yeah, I'm having the event on the 28th of July. Thank you very much for approving that. It's gonna go well. It's gonna be a big event for us. Raise a lot of money.
Okay, and, then the reason why you're here,
Is change of, officers,
okay?
company. I don't know if you have, did she submit it?
They have a paperwork.
All right.
I think it's.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
So this is just a step that we have to take before it goes to the ABCC. Chris is the new manager. I know that the board likes to see who the new managers are, the alcohol licenses. And
Absolutely.
at the same time, they're doing change in officers. There's no change in the beneficial interest of the company. It's just a change in officers. And so we're submitting this all at the same time to the ABCC.
Anyone have any questions?
So what do you need a motion?
We need a motion to approve Christopher Bailey as the new alcohol license manager at the Bellingham Uno's, as well as a change in officers at the for Uno's restaurant.
I make a motion to approve Mr. Bailey as the new manager and the change of officers for owners.
Second. We have first, we have second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
All set?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You bringing the Spinacli pizza back?
Oh, that is a and the chocolate cake.
The chocolate cake
The
is
chocolate
really
cake.
What's that? You can tell I'm color or not.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
the first place my wife took me. We got Spinacli pizza.
okay, so we get into the kind of momentum over here, so the next one on the agenda, Floodens issue.
Yeah,
And
Lazard
Lazard
side,
Yeah.
right, so Lazard side has been, a chronic problem, I know Jesse Riddell's here, and we have a couple neighbors here as well that wanted to get an update on what's going on, yeah, no, you're welcome. I'm sorry,
Mr. Hardy?
Mr. Hyde, right? Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
stand.
Yeah, well, you can- yeah, it's all good.
Pull up the chair if you want.
Yeah, well, Lazard Drive's been a chronic problem, for years. I actually used to live in the neighborhood, and I've been out of that neighborhood for 20 years, and it flooded back in the 90s. It's just been an issue, with drainage that runs through the neighborhood, and as upstream developments have occurred, Fox Run Road, and after that, the neighborhood that's known as the Toll Brothers, neighborhood, it's just created more, right, Whitehall Way, it's created more runoff and more drainage issues. One of the famous pictures in the Milford News 20 years ago is of Mr. DiMartino on top of his vehicle in front of former auxiliary police chief Bartlett's house.
Oh, God.
As that street flooded, so, we've asked, our engineers to look into it. Representative Soda has spent some time on it, researching federal funds that may be available for it, and this has been going on for a few years, actually, and, I know Jesse Riddell, our DPW director, is here to talk a little bit about, what we're looking at doing and where we're at right now in the process, so that hopefully we can get to a point where we can get some relief down there. To put things into context, people that have been in town for 30 or 40, 50 years will tell you that the neighborhood used to have a lot of wetlands in it that were filled when the neighborhood was built. So it creates or adds to the problems that we have there, and that there is just a lot of water to deal with, and I know some of the residents that have been there have been dealing with it for years, so.
Kevin says hi, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, I'll tell everybody I said hi.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, which one sent the pictures?
I've sent pictures multiple times. I was on Fox 25 News because of it.
Well, the ones that we got today.
18 Mooring Drive, I believe that was.
That was more Drive, that's,
Okay.
I didn't
that-
send any.
that's on the corner of Blue Drive,
Okay.
which is becoming a problem. But the real issue is, well, it's that area going to the south on Lazard. But it's not just there either. It's Newland Ave, which is
Right.
the street over. It's the backyards on Elaine Circle.
I had 4.5 feet of water in my yard. It was so deep that it literally uprooted my pool and moved it 30 feet.
So does the stream run behind your property?
No,
It runs behind my property.
Your property?
It runs from that trail.
Yeah.
It goes underground for 400 yards. It surfaces as the boundary of my land and it right next to James' house. It comes out of the pipe. You also have storm drains coming out of that pipe. And what happens is it flows around the back of my property, around my neighbor's property, and then it enters another pipe. How they devised this, I have no idea. But they ran a pipe from Lizard Drive some 60 feet up. And that's where it enters, the brook now enters that to go on the Lizard Drive. The problem is that pipe cannot handle the amount of water that is now coming. So what happens is it starts backing up. It backs all the way up to his property. It blocks the storm drain, so now Newland Drive storm drains get overpowered. And that starts flowing through the field. It fills his backyard. It flows into my yard, so now I have water coming from the brook and from Newland Drive.
I
And
just pass this around.
I'm familiar with it because my wife and I walked that part of the Snap Trail, and we see it. I haven't done it in the last few weeks, but I've definitely seen it.
yeah, I grew up on Brisson Street and I know what he's saying about that area. But the drainage and the flooding are two different items. My property is very slow draining,
Are you Mrs. Ryan?
but the flooding,
Somebody.
we haven't had it for a while, but this winter I had to dry out my basement twice. It's a finished basement. And, I'm up 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm out putting sandbags out. And, no, I just can't do that anymore.
Jesse is here to give a little update on where we're at as far as the design goes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Brain. So I did have a little bit of the history on this, dating back to 2021. At this time, Bellingham did look into a couple different grant options, opportunities. At the time, there was a MEMA brick opportunity as well as the MVP action. Unfortunately, at that time, neither one of these were awarded to Bellingham. In February of 2024, so as of the most recent, we did explore other opportunities through the culvert replacement municipal assistance or CRMA grant program. And also in February of 24, Mass DOT recommended exploring the municipal small bridge program as an option. In late February 2024, Bellingham received a response from Mass DOT that the structures on Lazat Drive, Delmar Road, and Newland Ave were not eligible for replacement funding under the small bridge program. The requirements of having a span of 10 foot or more in all the areas described are corrugated steel pipe culverts about 5 foot in diameter. So at that time, the small bridge program was not an option. Early March of 24, Mass DOT recommended the same CRMA grant that we explored previously. The deadline for this was March, so at that time, because we were exploring in early March, with the deadline early March, it wasn't an opportunity at that time. So it's something that we're currently exploring, but again, the timing was not ideal at that point in time. They also recommended a similar federal program, in the notice of funding opportunity had not yet been released. It would have been for the aquatic organism passage culvert hydraulics. In early March of 24, we reached out to our consultants who aided with the previous 2021 efforts. Files show previous attempts to fund through BRIC and MVP. Again, at the time they were turned down, but we did have the historical data on this, which would be helpful for next steps. To date, our consultants have a scope for a study that concludes with design alternatives for Arnold Brook watershed, 5 culverts, and the Green Acres neighborhood. In 21, that budget for the study was $75,000, and there was no clear idea of the solution or solutions given the scale of the study area. A rough 2020 concept, so just prior to this, took a rough 2020 concept to reroute the brook would have cost in the range of $2 million for that. Mid-April of 24, we were working on an updated proposal with our consultants to see what that study would look like, what the impact would be. With this ending with a request for record drawings, to which we don't have very good drawings in this area. It was prior to 1994, which was really when our database grew exponentially. So we have, given what we have at this point in time, we are exploring next steps for design for upgrades. However, it's a work in progress. We're exploring grant opportunities, but as it stands right now, we don't have a clear path as to when this will really hit the ground running. On the bright side, we did move forward with a stormwater asset management plan. This is a combination effort between retained earnings from stormwater as well as a grant reimbursement. So looking ahead, items like this, we should be able to intercept, do capital planning, and get ahead of these types of issues. But this extensive plan is anticipated to be complete within the next 2 years. So we are moving forward with what we can do to, provide a design for this area. However, funding will be the next hurdle. So we'll continue to explore options, bring forward what we can, and go from there.
Right now, what we've asked our consultants to do, though, is to give us some options for to mitigate some of the flooding that's going on right now. Right?
Yeah, and absolutely. Thank you for that, Dennis. Yeah, so what we're hoping to do is come up with some sort of a preliminary or early on relief for the area. Obviously, this area has been very prone to flooding. The DPW has been very active with trying to, take care of the issue after it happens. We put in some measures to try to get ahead of this, but absolutely, if there's anything that we can do, whether it be small scale in-house to get ahead of this, we're certainly interested. I think large scale, it's going to be a little further down the road, but yes, this area has been plagued with, chronic flooding through the years, and it's only gotten worse.
Can I
Well-
add something to that? So back in 2018, when it was Hurricane Florence came in, dumped a ton of water on us, the pipe in our backyard that flows from Lizotte to Elaine Circle and then out to from Downmore to Elaine Circle to Lizotte broke. So the DPW had to come and replace that pipe because of the amount of flooding that happened. We had geyser, a 3-foot geyser in our backyard because of it. We spoke to Mike Soder back then, and that was 4 years ago, which I have emails from saying that it would be 2 years till we have an answer. Now we're at 4 years and we still don't have an answer. Like well, from 18, but I'm saying my emails from Soder were 2020 saying, it'd be 2 years of planning. Well, now we're at 4, so are we just gonna keep being pushed back 2 more years every couple years?
Yeah, and it's a great question. I think that's going back to the original 2020, 2019 efforts. What it appears is we've looked into several options with the hopes, the anticipation of receiving some sort of funding for this project, but unfortunately, it seems that it's been unsuccessful in recent years. We are, again, looking into other options, maybe smaller scale, to try to alleviate some of the issue that's ongoing. However, I think, full scale, we're not just talking about a single or, a couple of, replacements. It's actually gonna be a study on how it impacts downstream, upsizing, things of that
So
nature.
the other part of that is during that flooding, there's like our previous owner to our house had built like a wall to protect our yard because we have that big 26-inch drain that comes out at our property. It is now eroding to our house and we only have about 15 feet before it hits our propane tanks and everything else. So in 2 more years, how much land are we gonna have left before it's right up against our house?
We have 3 sinkholes, like our backyard's
Like
not,
giant sinkholes.
it's not safe for the kids to play in because of,
The water from
damage that
18
came
that
from it.
damaged that.
and the DPW has refused to acknowledge those issues. I've asked people to come out. Dennis came out initially, but the sinkholes opened up afterwards. And I've sent pictures to the DPW saying, I'm trying to get an answer that people are gonna come out, and they haven't. They haven't seen what has happened since.
And again, how much longer does our house have before the water is literally at our door?
I run into that too. Like they've seen my yard there. My yard is the bus stop for that whole neighborhood. As much as it, joys me seeing the kids play on an ice rink every winter. I don't want the kids to fall and get hurt. All my kids' toys, I've literally had to buy like 12 Power Wheels over the past 5 years. And I know that ain't a big deal to anybody, but if you're 3 years old, it means a lot to them. I've had to, like he's been there too. Like, I've lost 4 pool pumps, a pool, part of my trailer, and like, my shed that I have in my backyard shifted and I had to replace half of it. Yeah.
To add to that, it is the bus stop with many kids that run on that corner and it gets to like 4 feet high. I mean, do we want our kids right there at the bus stop?
Yeah, don't see no sense in it. Mr. Can I say a question for you?
Are any of you in a flood zone?
What's that?
Are any of you in a flood zone, flood insurance?
I think the whole area is. No, I looked at FEMA the other day recently. For some reason, my house was not in a flood zone.
So like part of my backyard, like where my shed is a flood zone, where my house isn't a flood zone.
Yes,
So,
and that's
and
what I'm
the
saying. I'm
and
not
the
sure exactly where the
Yeah,
line
the only
is.
way to do that, I think, is you have to do request an aerial thing through FEMA. Where they will come through and they'll do an aerial, because we tried to get out of it because the water doesn't go over my fire pit. And they'll do like an area through drones to do an assessment on it. And that might help you guys out, a little bit. I mean, I'm talking like just beyond what the town of Bellingham can do.
Yeah, it's just, for me, I'm not so worried, because my yard isn't washing out, my grass looks like crud. I'm not too worried about it, it's just grass, but for him, like, I've been.
So you guys, you're not in a flood zone, you don't pay flood insurance or anything like that?
I do.
You do, okay.
As soon as when that brook crests, I will never get water in my house unless the brook crests.
Right.
When it crests, it comes across my neighbor's yard and it comes towards mine. Now, one of the things I was gonna suggest as a intermediate step is if you follow from where the water comes through the pipe into, where it's on the ground and then it comes out, there's a good bank on both sides up to a certain point. And then you get to a place where my neighbor's yard is sinking, there's no bank left. So when the brook crests, it comes over very quickly. Once that pipe begins to back up, it comes over there. If some banks could be restored there, it would help alleviate some of the problem. It would take a lot more water to flood. And what I'm saying is if you went up from Lizard Drive and restored some banks along the way, that would help.
Can I make a suggestion, if it's possible? Obviously, we got all this information. Can you, give us maybe a little bit time? I know you said you already sent a bunch of emails. All the information is available to us. Can we, visit it and then, let Jesse go take a look at it? And then, we'll come up with some kind of a solution? Is that okay? Because it's, at the moment, I don't think, anything we can do. Other than that, we can collectively go take a look at it and, we'll get back to you as quick as possible.
I've been waiting for someone to show up.
I
asked for the DPW to come out and nobody ever.
Yeah, I can promise you, that we'll definitely look into it and then we'll get back to you. as soon as possible, Jesse?
Absolutely.
Is that something that is,
Yeah, do you need our addresses? Because
Yes, I was
my
gonna-
yard gets pulled for, what's the one that we were talking about out there?
Nolan Drive.
Newland, I've been yelled at for stuff that Newland Drive is doing wrong, and they're like, you need to do this, and I'm like, I don't live there, and then one time they gave me a letter saying that I had unregistered vehicles and all this, and I'm like, I haven't had an unregistered vehicle in almost 10 years. So I don't know what you're talking about, and then I just sent pictures of my yard. Not touched it, I didn't clean it, didn't do anything, I just, here you go, I cleaned it, and they're like, oh, good. I'm like, what's going on? Like, and it was right after the flood too, and my wife just had a baby, I just had spinal surgery. So like, I can't go out and start cleaning up after a flood every time it rains, and it's not saying that every time it rains, we get, 4 feet of water. But it's getting to the point where like, if we get a hurricane, us three, and especially him, he's got waterfront 9 months out of the year. That we have to.
Not 9 months.
You know what I mean, but
so if you allow us, and it's, let us take a look at it, and then, if you can actually give your addresses
Yeah, that'd be
and, all the contact info to Hillary, and then, we'll get back to you. I know it's gonna rain over the weekend, and then probably, we'll go take a look at it, assess it, and then, I promise you we'll come up with some kind of solution.
Yeah.
It's-
Normal rain is not the
Yeah.
problem.
No.
Normal rain is not a problem. So,
Just
And what I was gonna suggest.
when it
come out,
rains.
is Just, we could explain to you what we're saying here about the banks and all this other stuff. Maybe you can come up with something temporary.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna be one of the big takeaways too, is if we can provide some sort of temporary relief. I don't want anybody here to feel like, we've done nothing about this the whole time. We've been exploring options, and I apologize that it's taken, so long. We're certainly interested in like, correcting the issues here, but, unfortunately, we've been unsuccessful in securing these to date, but, we'll keep on it.
I'm not worried about.
I'm retired, and so I'm home every day, so you can come anytime. and
Miss
I'll give you a
Actually,
tour.
no, I don't mean to. cut you
I
off,
would
yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
Jesse, I would like you to go out and I
Yeah.
would like at our next meeting to
Yeah.
have some sort of idea of a resolution for these folks, I mean, it's gone on this long, and I've seen the pictures, so I
Yeah.
think that this might be a great time to let's get this, at least come up with a resolution for them, and then come back at our next meeting to present it to us too.
And then,
What we'll do is have our engineers join us via Zoom and
Yes, that
kind
would
of
be
talk
really,
about the.
that would be really good.
I promise you, it's like, we'll find a solution
yeah.
for it. And, just let us take a look at it, assess it, and then we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Jesse's here. Why is the DPW refusing to go to that home?
I would honestly have to, do a.
Because I've been refused before by that office. Sometimes they treat me like a third-class citizen.
Thank you, thanks for your time.
Yeah, have a good one.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not the intent. It depends on what, the request was for, and I really have.
Before you took over, there were times I went in there, they don't want to talk to you. They can understand that man's problems. I can understand it. This is life.
Mr. Hanway, it's, we'll have a conversation with Jesse, and then it shouldn't be like that. It's definitely, we'll definitely look into it. I promise you that as a board, we will look into it. We'll find a solution.
All about helping.
Absolutely. That's
You
what we
don't
do.
turn your back on people that are in need. I don't care what the department is. No call for this.
I can assure you, Mr. Hanway, it's not leadership, it's not Jesse.
There's another resident from Lizon.
If you don't mind, Mr. Hanway, it's, I'm just gonna. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to add,
Yeah.
just an additional viewpoint to this whole thing. I've been living there at 31 Mazat Drive for 47 years. Problem is getting worse. I've been flooded, I have been flooded 6 times. But after the first time, I've been putting sandbags in front of my garage door, the water will come in 5 inches into the house as I go. Same with Dennis Hardy, he has the same issue. The problem is just getting worse, and what used to be an issue where it used to take a significant rainstorm in order to cause an event like this, now it's getting less and less and less, and these events are coming more often. So really, something needs to be done, and along the lines of, both of the residents have documented this thing pretty well. I've got pictures which show that streams go over Lizard Drive by 6 inches, just flowing Arnold's Brook, flowing over the bridge, over the culvert there by 6 inches. I mean, that's pretty significant.
No,
And
it's absolutely all right. I agree with Mr. Nobashi today. So to be honest with you, I don't think we knew the extent of it until now. Now we know. I promise you, we'll definitely look into it. Yeah, we'll find a solution for it. Just give us some time to look at it, and then we'll definitely follow up on the next meeting.
We will have an idea
Absolutely.
by our
If
next-
you don't mind, if you can provide your contact information to Hillary, and then we'll take it from there.
There's also a problem with the paving job they did 3 years ago. Lizard Drive has no storm drains from Newland to Passmore and Drive. We used to have a channel where the water would come down and be funneled down to the next storm drain, which is in front of his house.
Okay.
But now it's flat. It comes down Newland Drive, Lizard Drive like a river. Friday night or Thursday night when we had the heavy rain, I could see moving water in my backyard as it's, because what it does is it comes down Newland and turns into Morin and it's flowing into my backyard. And I already have a lot of water in my backyard.
I'm sorry to hear that. Let Jesse take a look at it. Let him assess the situation with the DPW department. Obviously, we got new additions, and then we'll find a solution.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Phone number. Jesse, you got that, all right?
Okay. Thank you.
So appreciate it for everyone's time, and then
Thank you.
we'll move on to this next item of the agenda. Jesse.
All right. Thank you. Well, let me see if I can share my screen here.
I know we got a little behind over here, but I mean, it's obviously, it was
It's important.
it's important, absolutely. I mean, it's
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time tonight. Congratulations, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chair. And to all those re-elected or elected to the board, appreciate your time tonight. Just wanted to take a little bit of time to go over Bellingham's lead service line inventory. This is something that's going to be coming up. It's going on in Bellingham, but also other communities. So essentially what we're seeing here is there have been revisions to previous regulations. And as a result of this, we're going to have some public communication, some input, and we'll kind of take it from there. So I've got a little slideshow to kind of depict what to expect. So lead and copper rule revisions. So originally, the lead and copper rule was established in 1991. The EPA published a regulation to control lead and copper in drinking water. This regulation is known as the lead and copper rule, also referred to as LCR. The LCRR, which stands for revisions, it says that all public water systems in Massachusetts were required to comply with the lead and copper rule will be required to comply with the lead and copper rule revisions, LCRR, starting October 16th, 2024. Key differences between the lead and copper rule and the lead and copper rule revisions. I'll compare the two. The lead and copper rule required to complete a materials evaluation by the time of initial sampling. No requirement on updated material evaluation, and no lead service line replacement or LSLR when required. With the revisions, all systems must develop a lead service line inventory, and they now must demonstrate the absence of lead service lines within 3 years of the final rule publication. LSL inventory must be updated annually or triannually based on their sampling frequency. All systems with known or possible LSLs must develop an LSL or R or replacement plan. And the difference between that annual or triannual is really a result of what we actually have for sampling results. Bellingham historically has actually had very low lead and copper results, so we're actually in pretty good shape there. Going back to the original rule, it requires systems to monitor drinking water at the customer tap. So this is inside the homes. If lead concentration exceeds an action level of 15 parts per billion in more than 10% of the customers' tap sampled, the system must undertake additional actions to control the corrosion. Bellingham does adjust the pH, so the water that's pumped out of the ground to our treatment plants, the pH is actually raised up to a level of about 7.5, and this takes away the corrosive characteristics and makes it slightly scale forming. It coats the pipes, in other words. So we've had very good success with the addition of this sodium hydroxide addition. Bellingham's lead and copper samples, again, have historically been low, resulting in reduced monitoring requirements. So as opposed to the required 6-month intervals, we're actually on a reduced 3-year interval. Good stuff. The revisions to the lead and copper rule, what we found and what to expect. So as these revisions were made, they're no longer accepting some of the previous information that was provided. Previous to this revision, Bellingham's response was that we have no known lead service lines in town. This is no longer accepted, and we actually have to prove that the service is not lead. So if there's no record on this, we have to actually show that you know, it's either made of plastic or copper or something along that line that proves that it's not lead. Unfortunately, what we found in our research is that our records are less than ideal, which isn't uncommon. This is very common in most towns with a very complex system and very old records. So that leads us to the next one. Public participation. So what we're looking at next is we are going to be sending out a mailer to the town Bellingham, to all the residents that have public water through Bellingham as opposed to a private well. And what we've got here are a couple of options. So this mailer is going to give them the option to do the online option, which we see in front of us here, which there are 2 steps, and we'll go through both of those right now. The first part of this requires the individual to scan the QR code provided, the top one here, and this is really step 1 of step 2. With this, we give some guidance on where to go from here. So essentially, and we'll go through this, essentially once you scan the code, it redirects you to a website, and there's many options. What we're trying to do here is provide some guidance on how to navigate through this system. So step 1, identification. You're going to scan that code or enter in the website, and it's actually going to bring you to this EPA website where you're going to have some options at the bottom here. Before we get into it, we'll go through a brief note that I have on this. What you're going to find throughout this entire survey is residents are going to have the option to skip right to testing their water supply, or if they want to click reduce exposure. So if they'd like to skip to testing, it gives them some guidance on how they can send their water sample out to qualified laboratories to confirm if there's any hazard with lead in their drinking water supply. If they'd like to skip to the reduce exposure at any time during the survey, it's going to give options on what they can do to mitigate the issue, whether or not it exists in their home. So this kind of gives you an overview of what to expect there. All right, so we're going to go back to the previous page here, and we're going to start the guide.
Hey Jesse, can I stop you for an answer question? So when did Bellingham stop using lead as supply lines to homes? Because I would think you could cut back significantly on mailing every resident. Like I had town water the last 15 years. I had a private well before. Can't imagine the last 15 years that they're using lead supply lines.
That's a great question.
So I shouldn't need this mailer or do this testing, correct?
Correct. So that's a great question. So lead was actually banned in public drinking water or drinking water supply in the mid-80s. So yes, to answer that question, that is one of the criteria that we can use to rule out the possibility of lead in the drinking water supply. So great point there.
So can we identify the residents? So I'm assuming the homes built after 1980s, right?
All these new homes, I
I
would
was
think
gonna say
in
that, yeah.
Bellingham should be, we shouldn't be sending mailers to them at a cost to Bellingham, right?
That is correct,
Right?
correct.
Okay.
So what we're doing with our consultants, early on, we've compiled all the data that we had existing, whether it had information or based on the timing of construction, we've ruled out those that don't necessarily need it. So anything prior to 1985 will require this if we don't have an extensive record showing what the material is coming into town. So,
Thank you.
great question, absolutely. Okay. So as we pass through this, this guidance, we've again highlighted, the areas that the residents should pick. So at the bottom here, you can see I've highlighted, they're gonna wanna go straight to the municipal water for those that are, receiving town supplied water. And at this point, we've ruled out, to Don's point, any possibility that there could be, plastic service or copper. And we've now designated that there's a possibility that there is lead in the drinking water supply at this house or this residence. So we would we would pick the option to skip the step. For now, my supplier wasn't sure. We may still have a lead service line or lead in other plumbing materials or faucets. To confirm, proceed to locate your water line. We give a couple examples here of what a water meter would typically look like. These are just very blanket examples. Again, this is off of the EPA's website. And we'll continue with the guide. Another example of what a typical water meter configuration might look like. From here, you can select the various materials, plastic or scratched lead, which obviously is one of the issues that we're trying to find here, and copper and galvanized. So newer construction, typically we find the plastic, whereas, older, much older, you find the galvanized steel, and somewhere in the middle of there, you'd expect to find copper. Here's an example of each of these. And last but not least, this is the lead option here that, again, we're trying to find and address. Step 2 of this online option, the resident will have the option to upload a picture to the database. So this will be the other QR code that was included, or the provided link. This is a separate website that has a very brief request for information as far as owner, address, what they found, and the option to upload the picture. So again, this is the online option. It's a little quicker, but again, it's online, so online options aren't always ideal for those that aren't as tech savvy. So we do have a paper mail-in option as a secondary option. Similar to the first, we have the identification portion, very similar pictures to what you've seen before. This is included in the mailer, pictures of the meter, the various types of materials that they might find out in the system. And then step 2 would include filling out a form. So similar to the previous, it's going to be rather brief, give the information that they're able to obtain, and then they want to send this into the Bellingham DPW, attention LSL, lead service lines. And we have some questions and answers or additional information that they might want to investigate, look into pertaining to Bellingham system, what you should know about lead, and additional information that they can find on the town's website. So more in-depth material that we will have included on our town's website for those that are interested in learning more about lead, the dangers, and why we're trying to update our inventory and make sure that any lead in the distribution system is addressed. Picture of your typical configuration, water main out in the streets, your public service line up to the curb stop, and then the private portion that goes into the house with the meter. So a lot of times it's difficult for individuals to understand how this works. This is just a visual, so they can better understand what we're trying to achieve here. Again, all information that can be found on the town's that will be found on the town's website. And some contact information. So essentially, I'm bringing this forward tonight to make sure everybody is aware that this is something that we plan to mail out to the residents that could potentially have lead in either the internal plumbing in their house, on a lead service line, or lead gooseneck as they refer to on some of this older cast iron or galvanized piping. Again, the previous, way that we used to say that there was no lead services in town is no longer accepted. So we have to now prove that there's no lead service in the distribution system. So step one will involve public involvement. This will, by having the public support, public interest, participation, this will greatly reduce the workload, as opposed to making appointments through the DPW, potholing or vacuuming down to confirm material in the service lines, entry into the basement, things of that nature. So step one, public participation. If we can get response on this, we'll certainly appreciate it, and it'll greatly reduce the workload in confirming what the material is coming into these dwellings. Any questions on this so far?
Can I just-
Go ahead.
No, absolutely, please.
Jesse, so are these gonna involve like I live in condos? So now are you going to contact the owners of the individual owners of the condos? Like, I think ours are 1983, maybe. Bellwood, I think Bellwood is like 1983. So would that involve us, or would it be only 1980?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it really comes down to 1983. It is likely that that would be involved, whether you're the owner of the unit, or if it's, let's say that same situation with an apartment complex, where it might be the owner of the entire complex. We'll be sending out individual mailers to the residents that actually live there. And they kind of vary how they're configured throughout Bellingham. Some of the services are run individual to the units, and others are a single service that branches off into several units. So at the end of the day, we're trying to find out what the material is actually coming into the unit itself. If there's a separate water meter, that photo of the water meter and the material coming in at that point is really what we're interested in.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Yeah, same way.
Yeah, one question is, if you find that you do have lead or copper pipes, what replaces them? What are you gonna replace them with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are alternatives to lead service lines. Plastic is really one of the more cost-efficient means. They're
Higher cancer rates with plastic.
the other option, if plastic is something that isn't preferred, would be copper. So we do allow for copper services as well.
Okay, all right. And if pipes need to be replaced, then whose responsibility is it? Who pays for it?
And that's another great question. So if we go back to the visual, so historically, the water line, the service, I don't know, can you see that picture okay on the screen? Yeah. The service here, up to and including this here, the shut off, is known as the public side. So this is the responsibility of the water purveyor, so the town of Bellingham. Anything on this side of the shut off is actually private. However, there's potential for grant opportunities in the future. Nothing has been solidified yet as far as the replacement on the private side. However, it is something that we suspect will be available in the future.
One more question. One more question. For people that have like water filter systems, double water filter systems, this definitely does make the water clear. So how does that fit into this?
Yep, and that's another great question. And going back early on, one of the options that they talk about trying to mitigate the issue, whether it exists or it does not exist, is filtration, such as what you're describing. So it's always a good idea to have additional filtration, whether you may or may not have lead service lines. So by having that type of filtration system would certainly help the issue.
It would help it, but it wouldn't negate the fact that you'd have to have your pipes replaced.
Right, so long-term, this would include the replacement of any lead in the distribution system.
So it's either going to cost a lot of money to people, or it's going to cost a lot of money to the town.
Potentially, and it's not just Bellingham, it's everywhere, yes, that's right.
It's federal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a federal, yeah.
That's not.
Thank you. I do have one more question and then we.
My question, in I'm assuming this has already happened in other towns, this method of informing people. And I'm just curious what the participation level looks like. In other words, say there's 30 homes on my street. How many of them do you expect to actually do? That's a home, that's an assignment. And so say, some of the older folks on my
Senior
street may
citizens, yeah.
not find the guidelines as easy and, say, so the two questions are, how well did that process work? That's, mailer work. And then the second question is should I find lead in my home, but the neighbor didn't do any of the paperwork that you're asking for? Will you then contact that person and say, hey, guess what? Your neighbor found these, you may want to let us come in and take some samples, or is that for follow-up or?
Yep, so great questions. Based on the error, what we find in neighboring homes, we would factor all that into our analysis. Anybody that's unresponsive, in this survey, it will trigger the next steps as far as investigation, whether that's an appointment through the DPW or we can go as far as, sample, test pits, that would be the most intrusive. But these are methods that we would have to explore depending on how much
Like if
response.
the whole street didn't respond, you're gonna have to go out there and deal with it.
Yeah,
basically.
and there are other options where we could essentially take samples of the water coming from the faucet. So similar to what we do now for our letting copper samples, they're known as first draw samples. We do rely on public participation for this. We would send out 30 to 60 samples. And we require, or we look for assistance from the resident
Right.
to grab that sample, first thing in the morning. It's gonna sit for a minimum of 6 hours. We take a sample, send it up for analysis and find out what the concentration is at that point in time. There's talks of offering a fifth draw sample, so essentially wasting the first 4 that are taken from maybe an outside siltbox and then grabbing that fifth one, sending it out for analysis for a representative sample of the surface line.
So my first question was, has this been a successful method in other towns? Have you seen, like, what is the percentage of participation you expect, really, honestly?
Yeah, and it depends, it truly depends on the location. There's actually a study of a town that did this actually in another state. They got on this very early on. I think it was about 2 years ago they started with their process. A much larger city. And they learned a lot along the way. Early on, their participation was very low, as they learned about these things. And I think the trigger for this was really the whole Flint, Michigan situation. But as they went through the process, and actually this is one of the steps that they recommended was speaking to the board that oversees the departments, school boards, things of that nature.
Throw somebody on unplugged and, say, hey, I found lead, you might want to check your water, you have a better
Absolutely.
chance of paying attention, I mean, if you really want to get something out there, that's, in Bellingham, that's how it happens, you go on the unplugged, so I was just curious
Yeah.
if you found success with this method in the past.
Yeah, I've spoken with other communities that have, had some sort of notification similar to this out, already. And, it varies on the community. I've heard from one that had a lot of response. Another had, great records, so they didn't need a lot of response.
Yeah.
And then another, had very poor response. So it does truly vary.
Yeah, Jesse, we're gonna move this along, but I think Mr. Hennessy has a one point.
It's something that you
can the next one.
You could use possibly like a senior workup or some of your seasonal employees to go door to door, identify themselves with the proper ID and just let the residents know.
I think that's certainly something that would be worth exploring. Absolutely. Again, if we get great, response from the residents, there might be, less needed. However, if you're getting a lack of response or, a lot of assistance required, absolutely.
Or
That's
maybe
something
even
we could
a
explore.
code red.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
informative. Thanks for all the very vital information in the city. It's quite a bit.
Always good to have you, Jeff.
Thank you. I
Full of
wanna keep it
information.
somewhat, short, but there's a lot of information to cover there and I appreciate your time, everybody. Thank you.
Problem.
Thank you, Jesse.
Outstanding.
She's fantastic. I can't wait to go home and see her.
That's excellent. So we're gonna let you do that and we're gonna move on to the next thing on our agenda. Are we going to other business, all right?
Yep.
Okay, it's perfect. I think it's, I suggested something regarding this matter.
Mhm.
It's like it was in the email. And instead of, what I would like to propose it actually, instead of voting on directly reappointing the town council, I would like to give an authorization to Dennis. To send it out to people, and then let's open them out, and then let's show the citizens a little more transparency instead of it's constantly appointed the law firm or council. We've been working on, let's see what's out there.
I absolutely agree 100%.
And let's see what's out there, and then it's maybe there was another company, I'm not saying that they might be still, we might still go with our current council, but let's ask, let's find out what's out there. And anybody would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to give Dennis permission to do an RFP to see what is out there for new town councils.
Second.
All in favor? We got first, we got second, all this.
I'm gonna abstain because I haven't been on the select board the past year.
Yep.
And I don't have day-to-day activity, though I was on the charter review committee and I found them, most of them to be extremely helpful. There were times when I was a little frustrated where they weren't getting back to me in a timely manner. But that can just be an element of they're just really busy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna abstain. I mean, do what the board prefers to do, but I don't have the experience as select board members in the past year.
Yeah.
Prior years, yes, I would have not entertained wanting to change. Because I didn't understand years ago when we changed from Jay Talon, who I thought was outstanding.
That's awesome.
And then all of a sudden, 3 members of the board wanted to change without cause, and we went down this process, and we ended up with KP Law, which has outstanding credentials, but that's the way the board, so I'm just gonna abstain from a vote.
Okay,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah, admit that, and then let's move on, and then it's so Mr. Martinez is gonna abstain from the vote, and
I vote yes.
vote yes. So we got 4-1.
No, I abstain, so I don't.
401, yeah.
Not saying we're not gonna go with, just see what's out there.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you, it's the
Yeah.
pleasure of the board, that's fine, I just,
Perfect. Thank you. And then,
Chairman?
yes,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of May 20th.
we got first, we got second.
I have to abstain.
You can, no, you guys can vote. We've gotten advice from council.
I
before.
read them, but I wasn't here.
Right, but you don't have to abstain if you don't want to, so.
No, I'll vote to approve, if the board,
I will.
I'll vote to approve.
Well, what do you?
Aye.
Aye. And the next one is on the item, vote on gift and grants received.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that the Board of Selectmen accept the gifts and grants as listed herein. And with said expenditures to be under the direction of the parties noted, and it's a $1,000 amount for Duhamel and Belcito family gift, and it's to the fire department.
We got first, we got second.
I think we have to, hold on.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
And, nope, that's it, sorry.
So we got first, we got second.
Yep.
One thing we say aye.
Aye.
I will.
Mr. Chairman, I move the Board of Selectmen approve the projects as listed herein with said expenditures to be under the direction of parties noted. 19,800 from ARPA NEU funds for police station locker room expansion, additional funds. The spending authority is the police department.
I know police, Chief Fitzgerald has sat here patiently for a while on this. I don't know. Sometimes it's better to say nothing.
Does anyone want to hear about it? It's.
Yes.
Okay, Chief.
I give you the 30-second version for the two members that weren't here for all this. Our female locker room. It's basically a box within a box. The behind the walls is the male locker room. We have 6 female lockers. I have 6 female police officers. Number 7 is on our civil service list. Number 8 is a transfer that wants to come here. No one's gonna wanna come here if there's nowhere for them to change. Don't have any facilities for our other female support staff, our dispatchers, or, so, the issue is when we started the process, Mr. DiMartino from the DPW kind of helped with the initial RFQs, and whatnot, that went out for the architectural. And of course, like everything now, we underestimated the cost of, it's not so much the cost of construction, I think we properly estimated the cost of construction is the fact that there's deconstruction, they're gonna take down walls and move plumbing and all that stuff, so. Ultimately, the scale of the project is a little bigger than we thought, so the 45,000 in ARPA money we had allocated for the planning design portion with the architectural firm was a little short now. They came in very high, we've gone back and forth with them, and we've kind of landed, the new number of 64,000 represents 15% of what they estimate the all-in price of about 450 is for the project, and that will give us safely, truly safely, 10 years, hopefully 15 to 20. You know, who knows what law enforcement, the town, anything else looks like 20 years down the road, but it should take us well beyond 2030 with what we would think is gonna go on, but what they thought was gonna happen in 2016 when the building was built is drastically different than what actually happened in terms of who we're hiring and attracting as candidates, so it will ultimately get us 14 female lockers, an additional toilet, there's one toilet in there for all the ladies to use, and one sink, one shower, and on the men's side, there's one toilet and one sink. So during 7 o'clock in the morning, there's about 15 people coming and going, sharing one sink on each side, so.
Yeah.
Getting a little space there too, a little breathing room, so.
No indoor firing range, chief.
It's about 3.5 million for one of those. Attleboro just asked for 142 million for a police and fire station, so this is a very gentle request.
I think we gotta move along. I think we gotta move.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at, that's how we got there, and our hope is this architectural firm's local, they're from Whitensville, they're working aggressively. Our hope is that we are ready to come to fall town meeting and get this thing done in the spring. They think 12 to 16 week construction project. They hope to, if everything goes well, we can get funded in the fall. They'll start in April, be done by this time next year.
You said you need to get some trailers in there during the construction.
There may be an option. We may lose our training room for 3 months, pull all the tables out and put some partitions, and there's options. We'll see.
There are ARPA funds remaining.
Yeah.
Fortunately, and
Yep.
19.8 is the number to get that design done.
That's perfect. That's awesome. Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
So we got the first.
In a second,
And
first
second.
meeting in a second.
Okay, we got first and second, and then all will say.
Hi.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, chief. The next one, on the agenda, discuss future select board meeting dates.
Yep. Did everyone get a copy of the dates?
Yep.
The only one there's a meeting, the case
Okay.
might not be within service.
Okay. Thanks, if you have to call the attendance. Well, that,
No, it's not telling me where we're going.
oh, okay.
I think we're going to Yellowstone.
Okay, so we understand that, you know, so I think I'm fine with the dates as long as everyone is
I
okay.
don't have a problem at
Yeah,
this
and-
time. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we can always amend,
Yep.
but if we can just approve it so I can post this. And then actually, since you and I had a discussion, I've had two things come up that that we're
Yep.
gonna need to meet sooner for.
Yep.
We have someone who's interested in opening an ice cream shop where Sandy's was. And she's a Bellingham resident, and she was hoping to open by July 1st. But according to our charter, we need to do a public hearing in order for her to obtain a license. So Monday, the first is a Monday. I didn't know if anyone was available on Monday,
July
July
1st.
first. It would just be a quick
I'm not
meeting
going anywhere, so.
to do Sandy's, and then Liz's Tavern is having a big, huge fundraiser for, it's a motorcycle run for the last name Bernard. And, she wants to do it the second week in July. So I said to her, I was gonna speak to the board and possibly have her come in on the first as well.
Sure.
Okay,
Right.
so we can do the first, add the.
So
first.
yeah, July 1st?
Yeah. If that's okay with you guys?
Okay, if anything changes, let you know, and say, as we can,
I'm going that week, but I don't believe in on that Monday, we're leaving Tuesday morning.
Okay. Perfect. So, need to make a motion on the dates?
So Jen?
I make a motion to approve the dates.
Jen just said.
That's okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not listening, I'm reading. So I'll second you, Jen.
And so we got first, we got second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. So we approve those dates. Okay, next one is on the agenda. We move forward. I think Mr. Martinez brought it, discuss use of Rose Street property. And, if you wanna jump on that,
Yeah.
and then we had some conversations actually, myself and Dennis, in the open space meeting regarding that too. You guys probably would love to hear.
I think we have some veterans.
Yeah, we do. I just want to recognize the veterans that came here tonight in support of, so this has been, using Pearl Street has been kind of a big dream of mine for some time. And years ago, we were really unable to really get any motion. And then right after that, we had the solar company battery to put an option on the property and had that for several years. Now that my understanding has gone away, certainly during my campaign, it was one of the items I had raised that I wanted to follow through with. And that is to potentially put, and I say potential, because there's a lot of work to be done, a residence with like a community room for our veterans in the area. So, you know, I had spoken to Mr. Hennessy about this. He had given me a name. I reached out to the person, they transferred me to somebody else. I've been speaking with somebody from the Heroes Group. And they said that actually Bellingham is an ideal location because for a veteran's home, a small, well, maybe smaller scale, larger scale, it really all depends. I know that there's no town sewer there, so that's one issue we'd have to overcome. From speaking with Dennis, so it would have to be a residence home / community center that a builder / developer would be willing to put in a septic system. So in speaking with this gentleman from Heroes, he provided me with 3 different names of developers that actually will, 2 options, will either buy the property, build the property, and then they basically bring residents in to home these veterans. And they're charged, sometimes these are small apartments, there's different configurations. He also sent me 3 recent RFPs that went out. And in reviewing these RFPs, so there's lease and build or flat out sell the property to the developer. They build, they acquire, and then they go ahead and however they work through the state. However, monies are allocated to the residents to help them afford these residents. Sounds like it's a viable opportunity. I mean, ideally, it's in what Noah had said is he loved the location because it sits between 2 495 exits. The Medway Milford 109 exit and the Medway 126 exit. So Pearl Street, as you know, is down there behind Cumberland Farms. It's the old mill. It was a brownfield site. It no longer is. It's been cleaned up. I spoke with our town planner, Rob. He gave me plans. I actually sent the layout of everything that's there to Noah first before going down this path. I didn't want to waste anybody's time, to say, hey, is this a possibility? He goes, loves it. It's 5.5 acres of buildable land. That's a lot. That's a big step. And then there's 15 acres of conservation land behind it. So Rob said it's actually a doable project at a 10,000-foot view. Now, that's the devil's in the details. So the thought is what I'm asking the board is for permission to pursue the possibility of using this land, okay, for that purpose. So that we could have veterans that maybe need subsidized housing or some sort of assistance in housing, a place here. Because right now, the closest places are Brockton, Providence, Worcester, and Boston. And that's just not, there are a lot of residents in this general area that would love to have some sort of assistance. And I know Mr. Hennessy dying to add in, I want him to, I just wanted to finish what I was saying.
No, when I heard it, I reached out to Don and I outright said, here's the person. I gave him Claire McConacolis's number.
Yeah.
She's the Director of Housing for the Executive Office of Veteran Services. If you go down now, 95 and you look, like Don said, right when you get over into Providence, going 95 south, if you look over to the right, you're gonna see a bunch of little pods. That's all veteran housing. Here in Massachusetts, what I've encountered, and we're lucky to have, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Hastings, and, the commander from the VFW here. The biggest thing we have is no longer a viable option for us, which was VA Bedford. I used to be able to, and I'm sure Art can attest, if a homeless veteran walked in, we can send them to VA Bedford. They had walk-in hours between 10 and 11 a.m. and these individuals were housed. That's not an option anymore, at least for me where I am. I don't know if Mr. Campbell has the same experience where these veterans are being turned. I actually had a veteran turned away and sent back to me. So I think it is needed, especially we're kind of in no man's land here. You know, because you can go to VA Boston, well, Bellingham to Boston isn't really
Easy.
easy. Even Providence, I switched from VA Worcester to go to VA Providence, you know, it's 10, 15 minutes. But if you don't have a vehicle, there is one transport service, two, I can think of. You have the DAV, and then the American Legion Post 85 has a car that they will drive you, but you need to have an appointment. If you're a homeless veteran, or if you're a homeless family of a veteran.
And if I made 10 days advance notice.
Yeah, it's not feasible. So I think Mr. Martinez's plan is admirable. He has my full support with this. I encourage every other board member, every other resident in the town, if you're watching, to get behind this. And he has my full support with whatever he needs for this.
Tim, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think it's a great idea and it's really good, you know, all around. I think that site, to be honest with you, isn't a very good site for that. It's very high groundwater. Everyone's septic systems all around that neighborhood are raised. And to get any kind of quantity of housing, you'd almost have to put a treatment plant in, you know, to handle that because there's no sewer. I think there's probably a couple of better sites around town that would be better for that.
Oh, I would love to know those sites.
I'm just saying, that site is a very challenged site. Dennis, I think you can.
No, I know we went down this, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, we
going
did.
down there, and it was a septic issue, but I was looking for, I've seen, the reason why I went down is because they sent me, like Heroes, sent me Soldiers One and a couple others, and I went out and I looked at their sites, and you see these big expansive buildings, then you see like these smaller, like pod type things, like.
Around Providence?
Yeah, and then I saw those, I'm going, okay, something could be done, I don't want to just say no, but if you're saying there's a better place.
Well,
In Bellingham, where we could do something like this for veterans, I'm open to it. It's just the idea that I'd love to see us do something in this town. That's really what I'm passionate about.
Mr. Martinez, I think there was I think I was driving by in Hartford Ave, there was a lot, right after you passed the, 50s, community.
That's one piece.
I was gonna say that
Across
actually,
from-
it's
near
a
the concrete,
floodline tunnel, right?
yeah, near the concrete plant.
Yes, right before that, actually.
That's
on
one
the
piece.
right.
There's also a piece up at the top of the hill that would be ideal. It has water and sewer.
I'd like to actually go to the next next,
That's just, you know, we could
We
have a
should
conversation.
have a conversation about it, but I just want, the veterans are here, and, you know, I've had conversations with, except for the commander, and they love the idea, and I said, would you come and lend us your support to the board, so that the board knows that this is something that would be very valuable to Bellingham, but also to the surrounding communities, if we could do something along these lines.
would you like to, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, the other thing with the site on Pearl Street is it's ours.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
We own it.
The other sites, you're gonna have to now buy that site, and this is, listen. 25 years ago, Roland LeBrod and I tried to do something with the old mill, and Dennis knows, we spent 5 years working on it. We had every builder in the world coming, but you had to put in a treatment facility, wastewater facility. That was their big hangup for us. But today it may be different, and who knows, maybe we could buy something from Charles River for sewer.
I'm
There's
just
all
not,
sorts of options.
I'm just not someone to sit here and say, oh geez, okay, let's think of something else.
Nah, I like.
Because I think there might be a developer that might be willing to put in a treatment facility.
Absolutely.
We don't know. right? Unless we put the RFP out
It
and
all
get a
depends on how
response.
many units you want to put in.
That's right, and I don't know. And you, when you put the RFP out, if you get zero response, okay, we have our answer. But if we get a couple of
This
responses.
is gonna be, it's gonna be a federal program too, because anything with the veteran housing, Art or Kevin or Mr. Hastings, correct me if I'm wrong, it's gonna fall under the HUD VASH program, which is SFVF, which is, special services for veterans and family. That's the term that they use. So the federal government gives out X amount of these vouchers to every state. Massachusetts, we always have extra, because unfortunately, some of these nonprofits, I can think of two off the top of my head that I personally worked with, are no longer in it. They're no longer doing it. They didn't apply for their SFBS voucher because you have to have special workers, special services, special case managers there. So that's why when I said to you, go with, you got Clear Path New England, you get Veterans Inc., you have all these agencies to work with. So it's all federal. So it's gonna probably be turned over to the feds, and then they'll do what they want with the housing. They'll get it up to code. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you have some experience with this on the federal side.
Something.
Actually, I'm listening to what all the input is, and it all makes sense. We're talking about the difficulties with the sewer treatment or the sewer utilization. And I think something to consider would be the cost of sewer treatment or the cost of septic and making that work as opposed to the cost of going to an existing sewer line. So if it's gonna cost this much to build a treatment plant, or this much to get your septic figured out, and the same amount to hook to an existing sewer line, and, go into that infrastructure, that might be a way that a developer with an RFP might be able to consider the whole process. And as far as the federal input to it, I think with, right now, we're running out of VA veterans homes. I mean, they're filling up. I mean, we just don't have a lot of federal VA living facilities for veterans. And so I can see whether it's private or even community-based veterans homes or veterans services like that. I see a tremendous need, and I don't think it should be just Bellingham veterans, or, we could have the whole local, regional area veterans coming in to someplace like this. And I see that would be very good for our tax base. That would be very good for our community, the growth of our community.
I think we just need to look at Gardner. There's a whole veterans compound up in Gardner. Victory Campus.
Well, what I found when doing my research is that most of these homes are all in central western Mass.
Yeah, there's.
It's just a ton of
There's
them.
nothing here.
Western Mass.
There's nothing here.
Nothing
No,
here.
that's what I mean. Everything's out there. Well, families live here. My uncle was in Bedford for a while, and then they moved him to Winchendon.
Yep.
So for me to go visit my uncle, my wife and I would have to go up and pack the kids, and we go visit them in Winchendon, which is an hour plus ride back and forth.
May I make a suggestion?
So I know we gotta go, but.
I love that idea. I think it's, I kind of take the, Tim's advice. If the Pearl Street is obviously, I know you dealt with him in the past too. If it's gonna cause too much trouble, we can keep that and then beautify that. I know it's right next to the Charles River, and then we don't want to get into trouble with the Charles River, obviously water shed. So what I will suggest is maybe we'll keep the Pearl Street open space, green, maybe, and I know we talked about it, do like a maybe kayak landing, so forth, so on, if it's gonna cause a trouble with the sewer because we don't have it. And then maybe we can pursue that, the lot available.
All I'm saying is there are other options that sewer is available. That's all.
Yeah, but we don't own the land.
Mr. Chairman.
That's the challenge.
The challenge is we own. both.
May I make the recommendation, and I don't want to step on Mr. Martinez's toes, and
No.
I know if I am, can I make a recommendation to form a committee? For the
I
veterans
think
home
that's a great idea.
and explore it, to show our commitment as the board, form a committee.
Absolutely,
Yeah, that's
I don't
fine.
I'm, my toes aren't being stepped on.
I just want to make, it's your idea, I think.
It's my idea, but it takes a village to bring it all together.
If we form a committee, to explore the feasibility of it, And also probably to take the burden off of Mr. Martinez's shoulders, as he's done a lot of work with it, and maybe, share the wealth.
Be happy to pass it over to somebody.
He has a career. That's it. So
I think it's your.
I'd like to be part of the
I
committee.
think
Yeah.
it should be part of the committee.
And I'd like to have residents, to have veterans in town.
I
as
think
part
that'd
of
be
that
good, and I
committee.
think our veterans leaders.
So we have a motion?
Yeah.
And
The
then,
form subcommittee is what your motion is.
Yeah, former subcommittee.
And I'll
Second.
second, yeah.
Okay, and I'll second it.
perfect, so we got first, we got second. The motion is, form a committee for the veterans,
Veterans Home on Pearl Street.
okay?
So does this motion, Dennis,
Just, do we,
should we have identify who's involved now?
Oh, you're gonna establish it, and we can certainly put something out there to solicit applicants who are interested, like you
for
would
the
any other
clerk's
committee.
office, like every other committee?
Yeah, but
Um,
Hillary will put it on the website, and,
That'd be great.
Hillary, but before
For
we
veterans housing.
finalize the motion, do we wanna limit the Pearl Street, or we wanna look all around town?
I think we limit it to because we own it.
I do too. I agree with Mike on that one. I think we should use what we got. We don't have to expend any money. Why
And
expend
I
money?
think a lot of it's gonna fall.
No,
on
no, I'm
federal.
just saying,
Yeah.
we have other properties available in town, it's owned by town.
We do.
I mean,
I just have to know what Tim's saying, that we don't own those properties that he's talking
I
about.
don't know, it's a lot of property.
I was gonna say that, we own a lot
But
of,
there are other pieces
We have-
that
we own
that
other
are owned
pieces.
privately, that are available with
Yeah.
water and sewer.
Yeah.
But maybe the committee can explore, you know.
I think that's part of the committee's responsibility.
so we wanna,
Explore
so,
all of
To
it.
explore the feasibility of.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just that property. There
Yeah,
might
that's
be
what- that's-
better other
Yeah.
properties.
I'll tell you, and I think that's a better way of looking at it, broadly,
Yeah.
because as Dan said, we went out twice with our
Yeah.
RFPs, and we had no responses. Granted, it was a different
Different
time,
time.
15, 20 years ago,
Yeah.
but the issues were the proximity to the Charles River. And you and I had talked,
Yeah.
and the fact that there isn't sewer there, so it'd be good if you have a blank slate and you could look at other.
So it'll be, my motion will be to, form a committee to feasibility of, veterans housing in the town of Bellingham.
I like
Okay,
that. That's good.
Great.
Second one.
so we got the first, we got second,
Yeah.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Perfect, 5-0. So we'll, perfect, everybody go through the,
Culverts are on, bye.
yeah.
Thank you. Bye, Pam.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
gentlemen. Thank you, appreciate your support.
Kevin, do you have something you want to talk about? No, you call me about the veteran.
So that's it.
Would be good.
That's another great accomplishment we did tonight.
Yeah.
So the next one is actually, and it's, discuss a new town administrator search, and, obviously, we are lucky to have Dennis.
Thank God.
We, yeah, thank God, and then we, had this conversation in the past, and, I would like to, pose and, to give authorization to Dennis, and then, post to look for, town administrator on the, MMA. We can post it immediately, and then I think the last search was, the 190. We can probably,
I think we had talked about going up to,
but I think we can start with the 190, and then let's see what's out there, and then, we can.
I don't think we got much last time with the 190. So my suggestion is, and that was one of the things we talked about, we thought we needed to go up a little bit more to really gather some good candidates. And the other thing I would just like to say, Mr. Chairman, is I would like to use a different company. I do not want to use Paradigm again.
That was gonna be actually my other suggestion too, if I can propose on my idea. So, the first part, obviously, is the dollar amount. So we'll put that. What I would like to suggest is, and, to post the listing and, give authorization to Dennis. And, what's the number we thinking first?
I think we should go to 200 or 220. I don't think any of the other town administrators in the area are making, other than one or two we know of, but I mean,
My thought is probably a little different than everybody else's, is doing a search committee.
That was gonna be I wanna do.
And
I wanna do.
Have them
Okay.
explore it, put it to them, and they can report to us what they've done.
So, okay, then here's my idea. So just, we'll give Dennis authorization, put the search for 200,000.
Yeah, I think you should go at least.
Okay, we'll do 200,000 on that, and, we will. Hold on, I'm just gonna go back over here, 1 second. And, so we'll give Dennis the authorization to put the listing for $200,000, and that will go through, town administrator's office. And also, I would like to propose, instead of going through the company, obviously, we ordered one day, and then we spent all this dollar amount, and we didn't get a lot of results out of it. I would like to propose, form a committee. No town employees, no spouses, no family, no town elected officials, no family, no spouses, as well as no, town board or committee member appointed, family member, as well as, spouses. And then that will give us a baseline. Everybody can apply to be in that committee through the town clerk's office, like every other board and committee.
They apply through me,
Okay, okay,
not the town clerk.
okay. They'll go through Hillary's office, and then we'll review that, and, by July 15. And, everything will be, go through from that committee. Any applications might come by then. Everything will be sealed. And then until the committee look into it with Dennis.
Mr. Chair, may I ask, Matt?
Yeah.
This may not be popular either.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to ask that maybe we table this to an executive session and talk, because there's some things that I would like to talk with Dennis about. Because I haven't heard, I think what sounds to me, and I've been watching for the last 4 or 5 months, that Dennis is doing a great job.
No, he is.
And he seems like his health is in really good shape, and I don't see why at this point in time we need to move that quickly if Dennis is willing to stay on and continue doing the work he's doing. I think from an organizational point of view, Dennis can continue doing what he's doing. And my thinking is that it's underneath Dennis, the people like Beth and others that do the work, that's the group that, Beth helps out Dennis. We know that she can do that. Beth needs help. I know, Melissa's doing some of that work. I think we need to look at the organization as a whole. So we started it, and all that started because we weren't sure if Dennis was ever going to come back, right? I mean, that was the point a year plus ago. We weren't sure if Dennis was ever going to come back. Well, he's come back, and he's as healthy as, and I'm thinking, why are we rushing? I'm not saying let's hire an assistant or anything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, Dennis, how long do you want to do that?
I appreciate that, and
Yeah.
we wouldn't be able to go into executive session for
To do
that
that?
type of conversation.
Okay.
No, but, let me just say, I mean, I've had conversations with all of you, right?
Yeah.
And I greatly appreciate the opportunity to have come back and, I enjoyed it enormously.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is, eventually,
We're
you're
gonna have to.
gonna want somebody full-time here, and
Of course, I agree.
I certainly don't want anybody to be sensitive to my feelings, like I feel like I'm being knocked out or something, and I know that's not your point, and I certainly don't feel that way.
Which we had a
Sahan
conversation.
and I have had lots of comments, I've had conversations with everybody, how long do you wanna stay? Well, I had said November would be the outside, but, obviously I wanna make sure that you have an opportunity to get the right candidate in here. I do feel good and doing what I'm doing, I'm happy doing it, I think things are working well, but you should be looking ahead, I think you should be looking to the future and the next chapter. Hopefully we'll find a candidate, but I guess what I would say is that, I'll stay here doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
Until you go through a process and you have somebody that you're comfortable with, however long that takes. If you go through a process and you can't find somebody, certainly I'm not gonna run out the door. I feel good. As I say, I'm very appreciative, to be here working with everyone and I love it. So, don't worry about my feelings one way or the other. Sahan and I have had a lot of conversations and I don't want anybody to think that.
I
feel
could
like-
actually,
Well, the only thing I would say is I think you need to have your committee before it's advertised, because the committee should have some input. into what's going into the advertisement. Whether it's salary or benefits or whatever else. Might want to do a little due diligence to see what other communities are doing. So if it takes a little longer, I guess my point is, I'm not going anywhere.
Mr. Mayor, I just, my thoughts with the committee is, I think we as an entire board control it. The committee, when we had the private company do it, we didn't see everything that came through. With the committee, we will see what comes through. They will read through some of it, but we get to see it as an entire board, not just certain individuals. I don't know, Jen, do you have any input on that?
No, I believe in the committee, will wait for their input, it's their town administrator as well.
Yes.
So they going to have it and have a say in
And-
what they're looking at.
And Dennis, I mean, if you're gonna tag along for the ride.
Yeah, certainly I wouldn't want to be on interviewing.
No, you-
candidates for
but you'd be-
position, but I
you'd
can
be here.
certainly, yes, however.
So what I
I'm in,
was.
can I just add this? So I'm in favor of a committee. I've never been against the committee.
Yeah.
And I've been on a handful of them, hiring superintendent, hiring principal. But I think what really makes sense is that you have an organization, not Paradigm, but somebody else that actually vets out and brings the candidates to the committee like they did with the superintendents, like they've done with the school principals, because there's no way a committee is going to sit through and do, last time there was 27 applicants, right? Paradigm, they vetted, applicants down to a pool of 4 or 5, right? Five, right? And then it got down to a little, so I think at that point, once you get past that first, that's a good opportunity to have a committee sit with those 5. It's very inefficient. Somebody who's hired a lot of people, it's very inefficient for a group to interview 27 people. It just is. So you hire that committee, you hire the Paradigm let them vet it out, right? And then turn it over to the committee. The committee will then make a recommendation to the select board. Dennis might even make a recommendation to the select board. And then that organization will make a recommendation. Then it's up to the select board to make the final decision, just like the school committee makes the final decision on the superintendent. But at least you start in a funnel like this. They start wide and they narrow it down and give you the best possible candidates, because there's a lot of criteria.
Just the one thing on that, just what we had witnessed, they have certain names. We don't see what's outside the box. And I remember Mr. Connor was saying that when Dennis was hired, and then whoever was in that committee, he says, I want that kid out of the military. And I think that Mr. Connors mentioned that because, he was somebody exceptional. They saw the value on it, but it's when we hired the company last time, I don't think, that we reached that. And
I wasn't there.
Yeah.
Martinez did have somebody at one of your meetings that was actually on the board that hired Dennis.
What's that?
At one of your meetings for the charter
Well,
review.
yeah, but they didn't have 27 applicants for it either back then, 30+ years ago. They had a handful of people.
people don't
They
mind.
literally had a handful of
There
people.
was a question over here, and then I'll just take 1 or 2 questions, and then after that, it's yes.
Hi, I'm Doug McLaughlin on 8 Barrett Lane, and I think it's a really good discussion, but I'm wondering if it's possible, for you guys to get together, like with Dennis, I don't know whether you can do it in an executive session, just to talk about specific parameters you would want to give to the committee, because things you might want to think about are, where's the geographic range that you're looking for? Because now are you talking about relocation costs? Things like that. Are you looking for somebody that's gonna be, we're fortunate enough to have Dennis for all these years. You're looking for somebody for, like Dennis, or are you looking for somebody gonna be happy with 5 years, or, just discuss it amongst yourselves, what you think, and give that to the
So
committee.
what I was envisioning was, I appreciate it for the input, so we're gonna use obviously same kind of idea, as we said, college degree, master's degree preferable, and then at least 3 to 5 years, in government experience, and then basically they got some legs under them, and I think that would be the good starting point. And as I said, the whole idea is for me, and I think we should get this ball rolling. I will take Dennis's advice. If anybody would like to, make a motion.
No, I have a question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
not
Yeah.
ready to make a motion.
Okay.
So this is how I look at this. I've been through a lot of hirings in the town of Bellingham, school committee wise, town wide, done it all. But I find that with the town administrator's position, what I found was, number one, I didn't like the way Paradigm handled it.
Yep.
But number two, I don't like the everyday citizen handling, not like that, because it becomes then a political brouhaha. And then everybody's information is just out there with everybody, and you're not going to get people to come in here and give you a good resume if they think everybody under the sun is reading their resume. They're just not gonna do it. They're not. So if you wanna have a specific way of doing this, my suggestion is, I did not like Paradigm, I did not like anything about them. Find someone else who will, I think it's important to vet, because one thing they did say was, they get a lot of candidates who, this is what they do. They apply for different jobs, every time there's a new one come up, they apply for it. And they're like serial appliers, is kind of what they are. Well, we don't need that. We need some serious candidates who want to come here and work. And yeah, I don't want someone who's going to be here 2 years or 3 years. I want someone who's going to be here for a longer term. That's what we're looking for. Nobody wants to have to sit and do this every 2 to 3 years. It's ridiculous. And yes, I'm not going to get another dentist, none of us are, and unfortunate as it is, I have to live with that. But I really think we have to be very, very cautious in how we do this. And just having a bunch of resumes come in, I don't think it's a good idea, and I think it's going to hinder our pool of people who will apply.
I agree with Ann. It will absolutely hinder the pool that applies. There are those serial applicants that come out there. And any organization out there that are looking for the best possible candidate, they don't hire themselves. They hire professional organizations, recruiting organizations, that's what they do. They focus on. Biotech industries will bring in recruiting agencies to filter down for their PhD candidates and all the rest. That's just what they do. They're paid a fee because they're really good at bringing the best qualified candidates. Now, if the board wasn't happy with Paradigm, there are others out there. And it's just significantly more efficient and more effective when you're hiring someone who's going to be the CEO of this town with an $80 million budget, 300 plus employees. You're going to want the best possible candidate. We don't have the reach. And the people that you might put on the committee may not have that level of experience to do the proper filtering. They might be great people, but they may not have that level of experience where they've hired people like a dentist's replacement. So it really doesn't make sense. I'm all for citizens committee, but I think you need to start wide, get rid of the serial applicants, and narrow that pool down, allow a committee in the town to absolutely have conversations, see if they're the right fit. They might look really good on paper, but man, oh man, they might not be a good fit for this town and this culture in the town. And that's what I think the townspeople can determine really well, and then they make their recommendation.
So 2 points. When I asked one of the first questions to, was John, right? Paradigm? Yeah, Mr. Patron. And when I asked him, I said, how do you find your candidates? And then he says, you usually goes one of those meetings and then goes through the applications through MMA. And he said that's one of his main line to find the applicants, beside his knowledge and his connections he had. And so on the second part, we still have Dennis here. So with the committee and then with the applicants, and then we can narrow it down, and then whatever that my number might be, and then we can go into the interview process. And that would be my suggestion. As I said, because we are lucky to have Dennis here. And then I'm just I'll take one more question and then
So my question is, does it have to be one or the other? Or like Mr. Martinez is saying, could you start with a company and then perhaps, as last time you had 5, correct? 5 candidates that came to you and you had to vote on.
they had more and then, but we were only able to see the 5 of them. So we don't, to be honest with you, I don't wanna limit ourselves to see
I
only
think
5
5 was a
candidates. We
small
want to
number,
see.
considering especially this wasn't viable situation, this wasn't a viable situation.
could you bring to a committee, say, a few more than 5, maybe 10? The committee then looks at them as a whole, then you narrow it down before you vote. So their job would be to say, you know what? This one, you know, this, we didn't appreciate that this person left their
That's
job
what-
after 6 months, or whatever the reasons.
You
know,
can
I
set the
almost think you-
parameters.
Yeah,
That's
and
what
I
I'm saying,
feel
so we're
like,
gonna set our parameters.
But you can set them with the committee, with the, like you
your
said,
committee.
with the.
So
with
you're
the-
almost getting the best of both
With
worlds.
the firm, and then have the firm say, we say to the firm, we want you to bring us 12 good candidates.
That's right,
but-
rather
And
than.
then give it to the committee.
Aaron, I have a question.
Yeah.
So when Mr. Petron gave you the 5, right? Did you ask Mr. Petron why only 5 and what was his
We
response?
did, and then they didn't wanna give it to us
They
because
didn't.
that was the contract.
That was what the contract was for. The
Yes.
contract was done
Well, then
with,
we changed the contract.
It's that they said they cannot do it when you go through with them, that's the only.
Well, that was
they
with
agreed
Eric.
upon. Yes,
But we're not.
I know we looked at other ones out
So,
there. 'Cause
what I-
we're the hiring body. We're paying their fee. We should control the narrative.
I wish it
I
was that
think you
way.
just said that, you know, so.
I wasn't here.
We asked that question, so he wasn't, so what I would like to do is, you know, it's, let's take the first step. Let's establish a committee. I like some of the ideas, let's establish a committee, and then, we'll set the perimeters with Dennis. And then we'll take the first step, and then after that, and then if we decided to go maybe hire a company, which I don't really want to, because we just spend that tens of thousands of dollars and then gave us a nothing, and then I don't think it's really
Well, I think we hired the wrong company.
fiscally responsible. Just to throw money out there, it's one of the things at the town meeting, I know some of the residents, they were asking why some of the expenses went up. And I know we have explanation for it, but, and I think we should maybe a little bit more fiscally responsible. What I would like to suggest is if everybody agrees,
Go ahead.
and I would like to get us agreed on that part. And, as I said, the perimeters are, let's set a committee of 5. No elected official, spouses, relatives, as well as town employee, no relatives, no spouses, no appointed board or committee members, no spouses, no family members, and then that will give us basically non-political agenda.
Well, we gotta keep it non-political.
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna say, let's get the app people.
Yeah.
To go through the TA's
I
office,
think it's possible.
let's let him go through we'll take the step, and then, as I said, at the end, we're gonna make the decision. If it's not gonna suit us well, and then we can still go back and revisit it, and I think we'd like to start with the committee. And then let's go through the Hillary's office, let him go through with the application. And then Dennis and ourselves will review, and then after that, we open them up to the public interview, and that will be the first step. And then after that, we'll set the perimeters, and then with the Dennis's advice, and then we'll get the ball rolling.
So
And I think we are on the pretty much
Who selects the committee? I recommend we have Dennis select the committee. That
That's
keeps
what I
us
was
all-
saying, so.
No, you didn't say that. I wasn't sure. So you say Dennis selects the committee, the 5? Then let Dennis appoint the committee.
I was gonna say maybe have Dennis serve as a de facto member of the committee.
I just don't want to be involved in the interviewing process. I don't want to be
Oh,
interviewing.
okay.
I'll certainly
Let's-
watch, but I
Yeah,
think it's.
let's set the perimeters out, you know, as I said, I think I highlighted it. Let's go through
You
the,
say the parameters of who you want to be on the committee?
no, I didn't say that, I want the people that apply it, we're gonna advertise it. If anybody would like to be part of the process,
Those are the parameters. of
those are the
applying.
perimeters,
Okay.
let them apply it, let's see what we got, and then we'll. Go through with Dennis, and then we'll talk about it. I'm not saying we're gonna appoint anybody at the moment, at least let's see what we got.
Like
Well-
basically, no contact to any town board member or.
So what happens if we get 100 applicants? We're gonna go through 100 applicants
I'm
during
gonna
a
go
meeting?
through all the applicants, that's what we're
During a
here for.
meeting?
Well, I think would be Dennis would be,
I mean, if we have 100 applicants,
I
it's
think we
more
have
is
to
the
give
merrier.
Dennis some guidance, not just the elected official, but we need to give Dennis some guidance on who we feel are best qualified to be on this committee, and if Dennis is gonna select, so if we give him some parameters,
Right.
okay, on who we think should be on this committee, then at least Dennis has something to go by. We've got to give him a structure. there's no structure discussed yet, and that's what needs to be given. That's why I like the idea of hiring an outside committee to at least start the funnel, and then we say, listen, we want a list of the top 10 candidates, and then we're gonna take those top 10 and we're gonna give them to the committee. Let them do their work first, and then that gives us time to form a committee.
So the dentist has just mentioned that instead of doing it, as I said, let's post the search. He said, he recommended it will look better if we establish a committee, which is gonna be non-biased,
Committee first.
committee first, and then let's start with that. Let people put their application for the committee. And then we'll review it, and then we'll interview it, and then after that, we'll appoint it together. At the end, it's gonna be, we're gonna decide it, and then that will be part one. Obviously, we're taking Dennis's advice on this too. Obviously, this is gonna be his baby. He wants to pass the torch whenever it's ready. And I think, that we should include him every single process. And that will be the part one, and then the part two, and then we'll set the perimeters with the committee as well as ourselves with Dennis. And
Set the perimeters for what?
let's start with the committee first.
Committee first, then we're
Committee
gonna
first.
set the perimeters. Once we get a committee.
Yep, with
we're-
Dennis and ourselves,
Yeah,
and then after that, we'll take it to the step two.
I don't know what step 2 is.
I don't know what
The
step.
step two is, someone to put
Requirements.
requirements for the TA
Okay.
position.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
All right.
okay.
And then-
That's what I was saying, I'm
And then are
sorry.
you
Yes.
suggesting, okay, I'm following you now.
Yeah,
And then are you suggesting that after we have all that, then we put like an ad in the MMA?
yes, because Dennis said that will work best. And
That's
then-
where they go anyway. a
Yeah,
lot.
that's what they go first. I mean, that's what Mr. Patrick found the most of the applicants anyway.
Yeah.
And then with this process, at least will be step one, and then we'll move to the step two.
I'm just, I think it's gonna be really difficult to eliminate any political bias on a committee like that if you start there first, but unless we allow Dennis to have final say who's gonna be on that committee.
The only thing I'll say.
You know what I
is
mean?
the Candidates,
Quite
the
challenging.
serious candidates that you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Are gonna be very concerned about confidentiality.
They sure are.
They don't want their name out there unless
They're
they're
not gonna apply.
applying.
They're not
Yeah,
gonna. go through it.
that's why the open meeting law allows you to conduct a committee, if it's a committee or
Yeah.
this board, the initial interview in closed session. You can do your screening in closed session. It's one of the provisions. Once you get past the initial screening or the initial interview, if you don't screen them, then everything has to be public. So candidates don't want to come forward unless they know it's either gonna be confidential and a screening process, or they're one of the final whatever. So that's the issue
Good
that you
candidates
face.
are sitting in a.
You're not gonna get somebody experienced from another community that's going to participate in a process that they're worried is gonna become public before they even know if they're a credible contender.
Because then in their own community,
Yeah.
and the
It's
word gets
difficult.
out, and the word
Yeah.
spreads around pretty fast. Oh, I hear you're looking for another position,
But
and boom.
once
And
we
we've had
set,
it happen in this town with superintendent.
once we set the perimeters, obviously after we select the committee.
Then you can
And then,
decide how
yeah,
you're
we
gonna
can
handle.
decide how we can handle, if we have to, I mean, we can ask them to sign a confidentiality agreement and then make sure everything is gonna be sealed. It's which is, that's good, will do the process. It wouldn't be no difference than it's when we hire a company.
When you've hired superintendents and high school principals, I know you've used committees. Have you used any professional consultants as well? No, it's strictly the committee, okay. And I know typically you utilize people that are involved in the schools, okay? Because the only other issue is, and I understand what you're saying, you want to keep it non-political. But keep in mind, you're bringing in people that maybe aren't familiar with the political process and how government works and how that position works. So certainly, we'll go with whatever the board wants to go with. Committee sounds like is what you want, and,
I mean, we take the other route and it didn't pan out. But let's change it up.
Yeah.
Let's go with this route, and at the end, we're gonna be the one that making the decision. At least, and we'll have something to start with.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we are not making a decision, at least we taking the first step. One of the,
I don't agree with it, but it's what the board's gonna decide, and I have a feeling I know where you're all gonna know, but I think we're gonna be cutting ourselves short of really good candidates. That's my fear.
I would be worried that the candidate wasn't found by the outside corporation company, you know.
Well, we didn't
deal
get
with that.
them. We didn't know Paradigm.
Yeah,
you know, They didn't know.
It's a tough market. I can tell you.
One of the things I learned, especially through being on this side of the table with the elections and the special town meeting is, there's a lot of educated people here in town. With a lot of experience. I mean, that special town meeting with the bylaw change, I mean, there are people came out of the woodwork that just blew my mind with some of the things that they were coming out with. So I think I don't want to say we're selling the community short, but there's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge, a lot of intelligence, a lot of connections, and I think they could possibly, and they came to a special town meeting. They care about this community.
Yeah.
I think that they're not, our community is not gonna let us down when it comes to finding Dennis's replacement.
I will say, let's establish the committee first, and let's get the applicants. The applicants means, the applications for the creative committee. And then we'll take that step. And as I said, something that we still have Dennis.
Yeah.
And we'll see who we got, who wants to be part of it. At the end, we are here for the citizens. We are here to, move the town forward. And like, I didn't even think of it until Mr. Hennessy mentioned the special town meeting. There was a lot of people came out and then they expressed their feelings and what they want to do. They want to be part of it. And it's, to me, that's exciting. And people, they want to be part of, the process. And I think that should be the first step.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make a motion to form a committee for the town administrator search for your parameters.
I'll second that. The reason why I'm going to second it because I want to see it work.
Yeah.
Because I'm in favor of a committee. You've heard me, I'd rather
Yeah.
start with a company that can
Yeah.
filter it all down. But if we're gonna start with a committee and go that process, because if we find that it doesn't work,
Yep.
doesn't mean this is the only way avenue. We can always pivot and make an adjustment.
That's what I'm
We're not
saying.
getting the candidates. that we
And
want. We can always
that's
pivot.
what I didn't like about, that really kind of rubbed me the wrong way with our prior search is when we came up torn, we went to the company and said, okay, get us more. And I'm sure he pushed back.
They did. They pushed right back.
They pushed right back on us.
They didn't want to be bothered.
So, I'm glad that you're supporting this.
Yeah,
I think we can do it. At the end, this is gonna be the bodies making the decision. With Dennis's obviously, with knowledge, expertise. We'll take the first step. Let's establish the committee. And then we'll take it from there.
Good, so we got a first and a second.
First and a second.
Yep.
And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any other questions?
No.
Hillary?
We'll get it advertised quickly.
It's perfect. And then we'll start with that and then, and then we'll think about it, the dollar amount, so forth, so on. Obviously, we're lucky to have Dennis around here. And we'll take it from there.
Kind of nice that this is almost like a security blanket.
And the last thing is,
Perfectly matched.
I know, the game is going on, and then I said we're gonna be quick, but we did it.
Yeah, we did.
But,
that.
These
But-
are important items.
It is absolutely, you know what, it's, to be honest with you, I wanna tell you one thing.
End of the day.
We are agreeing and disagreeing, but at the end, we trying to figure out what's best for the town.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to do, and I'm really excited to be part of it.
And I appreciate it too, and I'm flexible. I just hope if we don't, what I'm asking the board is that if we go down this path and we don't have it,
Yeah.
right? That we be flexible enough and agree to pivot to find a different process.
I don't see why not. I mean, we did it in the past, I mean, just, certain things.
Improvise,
we can still do it
improvise,
again.
adapt and overcome.
What's that?
Improvise, adapt and
Yeah.
overcome.
It's perfect. So that's one off the books. And the next one is social media presence. I don't wanna take a lot of time on this, but I think it's what we see. And I think what we are in need for new technology and then new presence in social media. And
We need a Facebook.
Facebook page, and then, it's what I actually had a conversation with Dennis. Obviously, we have the new website now. And what I would like to see, find out what the other towns are doing. And instead of people or our citizens or constituents trying to get the information through XYZ, we can have official governmental, Facebook page. Information only, come to the TA's office, town administration's office. And I know it's gonna be too much on Hillary, but it is, I just kind of throw it out there. But I think we should look in an avenue, somebody's gonna be available, update information. And, in Facebook, social media, whatever that might be.
I have an idea. I think it's wonderful. I think it's a great idea. We're long overdue.
Yeah.
What if we were to put an ad for like a college intern, who's someone who's doing communications or something, and have them work with us this summer to put up a page, get the structure going, and then turn it over so that we're not asking Hillary to build it or someone else, but there must be some college kids out there that are communications majors or graphic designer majors that we could have them at least start the structure. Man, they're on Facebook all the time. They know more than I'll ever know.
I know Karen is working on
Yes,
it.
she
Uh,
already
yeah,
is.
Okay, she's working on it. She's been in touch with Hillary. I know Hillary's been in
Okay.
contact with some other
I have a
communities.
meeting tomorrow with the town who has a Facebook page.
Oh, great. I didn't even know that
Yeah.
had taken off already.
Well, I just, because I spoke to Sahan, so I wanted to
So I
get ahead of it, and
Yeah.
I went on Facebook to see what towns had.
Yeah.
And I spoke with a woman who runs their page, so I have a meeting with her tomorrow.
Excellent.
That's
The next
perfect.
meeting, we should have an
More
update.
information.
If
That's
not a
awesome.
page.
A lot of
So-
the towns have their Facebook
Yep.
page. I mean, Mansfield and Medway and everybody has one.
And-
They're
and-
great.
Yep.
They give so much
When
information.
are we
That's
starting
right.
a TikTok?
Oh, boy.
No, I don't do TikTok.
And then,
Lucky I do
that,
Facebook.
that will be the first step. And other than that, I think, we, every single, thing on the.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to
Well,
adjourn.
no, hold
Oh,
on a second.
I'm sorry.
I was getting excited.
I have something. So we have an open position for an associate member on the planning board. And it's gonna take a joint meeting with the planning board. So, I posted it on the website, about a month ago now, and I received one application.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to see if you guys would be willing to do a joint meeting with the planning board on July 15th. We'll do it at the very beginning.
About 15.
It's one of the meetings that we have already.
Is that one of our?
Yeah, we're
meetings?
one of the-
Yeah, yeah.
our meetings.
That's fine.
Okay, yeah.
I might.
Yeah, that's
Just
okay.
do it earlier.
Yeah,
So we're
well,
gonna start a few minutes early for that meeting and
we
just do it
can
at
probably
7
start
o'clock.
at like 6:45 or something.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's fine.
I'm fine with it as long as the rest of the board members are
Well,
okay with
I'm
it.
planning on being on the 15th anyway, so.
And, before we, Dennis? Anything else? I think that's
I'll
all.
be real quick. Rep. Hawkins also was here last week,
Yeah.
very informative. Gave us some good information on PFAS. PFAS, obviously is a very expensive issue that we're dealing with. We're working through the design, on the process. He was helpful getting $1 million earmark to assist with that, but it's about a $20 million project, so it was a great visit. And the only other thing I want to, I know the Celtics are on, so we'll wrap up quickly. Website, I think everyone's looked at it. It looks great, but it's still a work in progress. Karen made it clear that there'll be additional updates, so don't hesitate to reach out if there's something there that you think needs to be modified.
4631 Celtics.
All
Oh,
right, Mr. Chairman, now I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Anybody would like to, okay.
say earmuffs next time, will you?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for everyone's time.
I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah, I know. I was excited. I got excited. While we're moving things forward. We'll take it one step at a time.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for your support.
Nice job, Sahan.
Nice job, sir.